Minuette, Pinkie Pie, A True Love by Switched Out. Like every day in Ponyville, Pinkie Pie wakes up quite early as every day, at 5 a.m. to prepare the most of the baking before going to school to be as a teacher. But this time she didn't wake up at 5 a.m. For some reason, she actually didn't wake up at all that time. When the time was about 10 a.m., she still hasn't even waken up. And since she was thinking we were going to take care of the cafe for the Kate family who's on vacation for about 2 weeks, and especially now that he was supposed to be at the school around 9 a.m., and she has always been punctually in time, but this time she wasn't. But it has happened that she has been late to school for about maybe 5 to 10 minutes. But one time it was actually a half hour. But that was because that she had to take care of some baking in the cafe first. But in an entire hour, that was unusually for Pinkie Pie. So her friends actually went to see her. But unfortunately, before they were going to leave, Rainbow Dash got a message from Spitfire that it was needed at Academy right away. So she would have to go away. And unfortunately, all her friends who was left behind was actually only Fluttershy and Twilight. Applejack was also away for some of her family business in Appaloosa, and Rarity was in Made Hatter for some fashion show. So there was only Twilight and Fluttershy who remained. So they actually decided to go to see Pinkie Pie, what was going on, while she was at school at the time. On their way there, they actually ran into Minuette, who is actually came to see Pinkie herself, because Pinkie and Minuette have actually been seeing each other for a couple of months as a couple. The only person who knows about it was actually Pinkie's closest friends and family, and they were actually happy to see that. But when they actually mentioned Pinkie that she hasn't been at the school, because Minuette asked why Twilight and Fluttershy was in town when they're not in school, they mentioned that Pinkie wasn't at the school yet. Minuette was actually a bit surprised because she has always noticed that Pinkie had always been to school in time. Well, a few times been late, but this was actually the only time in an hour. So all of them actually went to Sugar Corner, but the door was locked. They're supposed to be open at this time. There were even some ponies waiting outside to get inside to buy some cupcakes and muffins or anything they want to be. So Twilight used and spelled to open the door, but she told the other ponies not to go inside and lock the door from inside because they had to wake up Pinkie Pie first. So they actually went inside, go up to the room, and start. But the first wonders, has Pinkie left the building before at some point? But there was no note either in the kitchen or in the counter or her room until Fluttershy removed one of the curtains and saw Pinkie. She was still in her bed, sleeping. Pinkie Pie was also sleeping in her bed. Twilight walked up to her and started shaking her lightly. But nothing. She wasn't even moving. Even then, Fluttershy went up to her and whispered in her ear and said, "It's time to wake up. The baking is on fire." Dad would normally wake her up. But nothing. She didn't move an inch. She didn't twitch. Nothing. Now her friend was getting worried. What was going on? Twilight checked her pulse. It was very, very slow, slower than normal. They looked her in the eyes, but her pupils didn't react to light at all. Twilight was getting worried even more, and especially Minuette, who was very, very curious, and now she found out that her girlfriend was not responding to anything at all. Then Twilight noticed something was actually seriously wrong with Pinkie Pie. She had never noticed anything about this. So she actually tells Fluttershy immediately goes to Sakura right away and get her here as fast as they could. And she had to remember describe her conditions. And after about 20 minutes, Sakura arrived with some medicine, with Fluttershy helping her carry some other things. First, Sakura actually looked at her pulse to see, very slow, looked at her eyes, nothing responded. She even checked her breathing, was also very slow. She tried to put some lightly warm things on her hooves, but no response. Then tried some cold, nothing. She had even moved an inch. So Sakura looked in her old books what she had with her to see if there was something in them about this condition. Apparently, there was only a few cases that she could have. Some very, very rare diseases, cases of sleepiness sickness. Other ones could have just been pretending to be very sleepy. So Sakura made up some potions to make out to see that would happen, but nothing. All the potions that she made has no effect. Then she came to the conclusion what was wrong with Pinkie Pie. After that she had found out none of the potions she tried had no effect. But then Sakura asked Twilight and her friends what would happen to Pinkie Pie the previous day. Because the day before she was really active. Because Pinkie Pie has been mostly in school, but after she went by herself mostly in the forest nearby the town, and suddenly when she came back, she said she was a little bit tired, that she needed to go home to get some rest, and that was around slightly afternoon. Pinkie Pie usually don't even go to take a rest so early, so Pinkie Pie went home just to try to lie down and to rest. But then, nothing. She actually closed the door, locked it, and went to bed just to rest. But then, after hearing this, Sakura started to look around for her books again. But even though when Sakura looked through the book, she couldn't even find any correct answer what was wrong with Pinkie Pie, because even though she thought there could be that part, the thing that could cause her in her condition, if that she give her that particular cure, could have not done any effect at all, could be something else. Then she tried to give that potion, that cure, but still nothing in it either. Because the book has several rare conditions and rare diseases. Some of these diseases hasn't been around for centuries. Some of them hasn't been around for generations, and a few of them hasn't been around. Only appears only very times of the season. Some of them can only appear only during the winter, others only during summer. Because it was actually summertime. But the only place then to find out what happened to Pinkie. They had to trace her steps back to during the day before. Because if Sakura was right, her condition could only getting worse. Because now her pulse was slow. It might be a sign that her pulse could be even slower and a risk for chance to get too slow, it might even stop completely. Minuette was so scared. She didn't have any idea what to do. She started crying. Fluttershy tried to comfort her, but this was much too much for her to pressure. Twilight tells Fluttershy to take her back to the castle and try to comfort her, but Minuette refused to leave Pinkie alone. She refused to leave her. She wanted to be with her at all times. Then Pinkie had actually been reading down some of her diary about this, but they looked in the diary, but nothing as much. It was not much of a diary. It was more like a journal that she writes down, and that was actually open. It was not just locked. It was more like the book. It was actually more a journal cookbook. She always writes down the new recipes that she learns on travels. So they looked through the book, but nothing. So they actually decided. Sakura and Twilight decided to go back to the forest and see if they could find any traces after Pinkie has been there and what could have caused this. They went straight to the forest. They didn't spare any second because every second was very valuable. They didn't inform any pony about this because it only could cause panic. Even if they could inform their friends about this, it wouldn't take days for Applejack to come back, and even for Rarity it would take her at least a day, and Rainbow probably a few minutes, an hour. But still, there was no time to inform your friends. During the same time, Fluttershy and Minuette take care of Pinkie, make sure that she was still have pulse, and Minuette was so scared. She thought that she's going to lose her own true love. She even then talked to Pinkie, told her how much she loves her, how much she cares for her, and how much she wants to spend the rest of her life with her. And especially, she even sings for Pinkie, and Fluttershy just sits there and listens. At the same time, Twilight and Sakura had actually tried to arrive to the forest, looked around, any traces, any footsteps, any footprints after Pinkie. They actually found several footprints, but nothing as much as from Pinkie. But there was actually one trail footprints they managed to track into the forest near to a bush of flowers, some pink flowers with red dots on it. And when Twilight was about to go closer, Sakura immediately pulled her backwards not to go any closer. She immediately recognized the flower. It's a very dangerous flower. It has this very potential to put a pony in coma, and this only this leads to death. She thought this flower would have been extinct by now, because 200 years earlier, this particular flower caused a very epidemic in Equestria. And after this cure was found, after that was caused this outbreak, they immediately destroyed every flower they could find. Dig up the roots, and destroy the flower completely. But this was the last surviving flower they could find. So they immediately put it up, but only that they needed one flower to make the cure. Apparently, if they cooked the flower itself would would actually release an antidote from it. By looking at the flower and sniffing at it, it was only causing the smell with some pollen from inside would actually cause this condition to happen. But cooking the flowers in the water will release this pollen to react to something differently and release some sort of antitoxin in the water, and will then turn into a cure. So they immediately Twilight pulled up and took one flower and burned the rest. They kept the flower in a bottle so they wouldn't even have any danger. They immediately went back as fast as they could because when they arrived, Pinkie's pulse has getting even much lower and she hasn't even. It was like that she almost stopped breathing. Pinkie was so close to die, but Twilight managed to use some of her magic to keep her alive, and like putting some sort of electric pulses in her heart to keep her alive long enough for Sakura to make this cure. After that, the cure actually took about nearly 10 minutes. And at the same time, it was so close that Pinkie was about to die. Sakura gave her the cure, but nothing. Minuette thought it was too late, but Sakura told her it will take at least a night for this cure to be has an effect. They have to wait. Sakura told her that she will be back in the morning to see if there's anything different. Minuette, she actually refused to leave Pinkie's side the whole day. Even Pinkie couldn't even do anything else in sleeping deeply. Fluttershy remained with Minuette's side just in case. And during the night, Pinkie's fun pulse was actually getting stronger for every slowly minute. And that was actually a good sign. Because the next morning, Sakura and Twilight came to back there and found out that Pinkie hasn't still been waking up yet. They actually took some pulse and it was much normal. Then her eyes reacted to normal life. But still she hasn't been waking up yet. They tried to shake her, but nothing. But then Fluttershy remembered, Pinkie, the cake is on fire! Don't! And Pinkie just set up, what? And she ran into the kitchen, left her room into the kitchen. Oh well, seems that she is awake, she said to Twilight. And they all went to the kitchen, but Pinkie looked around the kitchen. Where's the cake? Where's the cake? There isn't any cake, Pinkie. And they all explained to Pinkie what has happened. Pinkie then remembered the flower. And Twilight said that she had burned all the flowers that was remained, and it would never happen again. And the last of the flower that Sakura used, she burned it as well. And that was the last thing they didn't want to happen. And of course, Minuette told Pinkie she was going to stay in Ponyville for next week to see and help her at the cafe. And of course, Pinkie didn't mind her help. And when the other friends came back, they were all shocked. Why didn't they inform them about this? But Twilight said, even if it was true, it would take her Applejack a few days to come back, Variety at least a day, but Rainbow would only take an hour. But she should be not been thinking enough, and even if she found a flower, she wouldn't think and also being affected by this pollen as well as Pinkie. So Rainbow and the others apologized to Twilight how this outburst, not been telling them about this, because she was right. It would have taken Applejack a few days to even come back to Ponyville. But at least Pinkie was okay now. And also a few days after this event, Pinkie and Minuette had actually been on a few dates. And it was just one of the perfect dates that when suddenly Minuette actually had something to tell Pinkie. After they had been together for some time, she felt ready enough to telling Pinkie she was actually ready to marry her. Pinkie was so excited she couldn't even stop jumping up and down every single moment. She actually hugged Minuette and told her that she loved her so much, so deeply. And Pinkie actually said yes to this proposal. And afterwards, they actually announced this to their friends and their families. And all of them was actually very happy. And of course, they had the wedding in Ponyville. Pinkie had asked Fluttershy to be her bridesmaids, and Minuette had actually asked Applejack to be her bridesmaids, and they had Twilight to perform the ceremony, which she gladly to make. After the wedding, they actually went straight to the honeymoon on a tropical island for 3 whole weeks. It was the best time they had together, and they had so much great time. Swimming in an ocean, eating one of those tropical food, just having a great time. And of course, around when they came back, Minuette actually moved to Ponyville to live with Pinkie Pie. About 4 years later, they were about talking starting a family. Pinkie and Minuette decided they wanted to have a family of their own. And of course, they actually decided to ask Twilight for help. Minuette decided to be a mother, so she actually found out from Pinkie and from Twilight she was going to have a daughter, and both Pinkie and Minuette were so excited to be a family and especially to be parents. Pinkie's grandparents, they were excited to be grandparents. But a few months later, their daughter was actually born. And they called her Candy Stop. Candy Stop was actually more like a parent, especially her mother Pinkie. She loves to bake candy, cookies, anything. But she also loved to make pranks, and especially against her aunt Rainbow Dash. But she actually started to be loving to be baking. And when she was old enough, she actually started working in Sugar Cake Corner with her mother. And at some point, she actually got married with a musician, and they had 2 daughters of their own. And that's how Minuette and Pinkie Pie found a true love of a family. The end.